Preachers and self-acclaimed doomsayers have been attempting to forecast when the second coming will happen since Jesus Christ proclaimed that only God knows the hour or day of the second coming, and watching the sun rise on yet another generation. God's final judgment is coming soon, probably within our lifetimes. So get ready, say even those who criticize date setters. Prophecy interpreters have recently begun offering a fresh justification for their belief that the apocalypse is near. On websites devoted to prophecy, in Bible study groups, and in churches, tense disputes have started. Many believe that the Euphrates River's drying up is another biblical prophecy that has come true. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Rapture Decoded. You've come to the right place if you want to find out more about the biblical apocalypse. We've created this useful introductory video just for you. You never know when you might need it. We'll be looking at the book of Revelation viewed from a secular, non-religious standpoint. The book is highly symbolic and certainly wasn't meant to be interpreted literally. As a result, at various points throughout the video, we'll elaborate what some of the symbolism might represent using the interpretations of biblical historians. So, believers or not, let's start decoding. In biblical and non-canonical texts, the river Euphrates plays both a geographical and metaphorical importance. What geographical role does the river Euphrates serve in the Hebrew Bible? One of the two major rivers of the Fertile Crescent in ancient Mesopotamia, the Euphrates River originates in modern-day Iraq and flows through Syria and Turkey. It is first mentioned in the Bible as one of the four rivers that flow out of Eden. In Genesis chapter 2 verse 14, the name of the third river is Tigris, which flows east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates, and is afterwards mentioned in other passages of the Hebrew Bible, non-canonical literature, and the New Testament. The Euphrates is commonly regarded in the Hebrew Bible as a geographical boundary that defines inclusion and exclusion. For instance, in Genesis chapter 15 verse 18, God covenantally promises Abraham land with the Euphrates River as its eastern border. This boundary is reaffirmed in later verses. Josh chapter 1 verse 4. The Euphrates is not merely the promised border, but also the real geopolitical border of Solomon's reign. Jacob crosses the Euphrates to bring his new family to his parents and brother in order to reunite with his tribe and get away from his uncle. Genesis chapter 31 verse 21. The Euphrates is used in literature to represent the exiles' isolation from their homeland following the Babylonian exile by serving as a border. The Euphrates River is occasionally referred to as the river in the biblical texts. Josh chapter 24 verse 3. Ezra chapter 4 verse 10. Several passages in the apocalyptic book of Revelation are interpreted by many as providing proof of Iraq's relevance in end-time scenarios. The Euphrates River, which flows through present-day Iraq, is mentioned in chapter 16, which also contains the Bible's only mention of Armageddon. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Revelation chapter 16 verse 12. NIV says John, who may be an apostle, of a vessel of God's wrath, emptied on the ancient land of Babylon, now Iraq, in order to reach Har Megiddo, Armageddon, in northern Israel. The kings will advance their troops through the Euphrates Valley. The Euphrates is drying up. The river is considerably smaller than it once was due to the water policy of Iraq's neighbors, Turkey and Syria, a 15-year drought, as well as years of abuse by Iraq and its farmers. Some government authorities are concerned that it may soon completely dry up. The Euphrates has shrunk, bringing down farmland along its banks, making fishers poor, and depleting riverbank villages as farmers leave to the city in search of work. The impoverished suffer more severely, but all social classes are affected, including sheikhs, diplomats, and even members of parliament who return to their fields after spending weeks in Baghdad. The fields of rice and wheat along the river have turned to baked dirt. Fishing boats are parked on dry land, and canals have been reduced to little streams. Pumps that are intended to supply water treatment facilities hang uselessly over muddy puddles. Iraq suffers from a severe drought. While the date palm and citrus plantations of the east are parched, the area planted with wheat and barley in the rain-fed north is down by almost 95% from the norm. American officials expect that the production of wheat and barley will be little over half of what it was 2 years ago, due to the 2 years of rainfall that have been much below normal, leaving the reservoirs dry. It is a crisis that jeopardizes the foundations of Iraq's identity, including its past as the world's largest exporter of dates, the source of barley for German beer, and the nation that takes patriotic pride in its pricey Anbar rice. Iraq is not just known for being a country between two rivers, it was also once the world's largest exporter of dates. To prevent crops from drying up, authorities in the Kurdistan region of the country this January drained a portion of the Mosul Dam reservoir. As it turned out, the choice preserved more than just crops. With only a few days to study the area before the waters returned, archaeologists successfully traced what they think to have been a major metropolis in the Mitanni Empire, established 3,400 years ago. When the dam was built in the 1980s, locals were aware that the city had once existed, but no thorough research had ever been done on the structures and artifacts that had survived the city's destruction in an earthquake around 1350 BCE. During a severe drought in 2018, some areas of the city began to emerge from the depths. However, the archaeologists ultimately didn't have enough time to adequately map the city before the waters returned. During that short period, researchers were able to explore a lost palace with massive 22-foot-high walls that were about 6 feet thick, and they discovered remains of wall paintings in vibrant shades of red and blue. An industrial complex, a fortification with a wall and towers, and a multi-story storage building were among the structures discovered. The expedition's chairman, Hassan Ahmed Qasim, who also serves as the chairman of the Kurdistan Archaeology Organization, continues, "The excavation results reveal that the location was an important center in the Mitanni Empire." The team was surprised at how well-preserved many of the walls were, considering that they were constructed of sun-dried mud and buried for more than 40 years. Some of the walls were as tall as almost 10 feet. That was probably caused by the earthquake that wiped out the city. It destroyed the upper portions of the walls, covering and defending the lower portions of the city for centuries. The Mitanni Empire, one of many kingdoms and states established by the Indo-Iranians in Mesopotamia and Syria, lasted from roughly 1500 to 1350 BCE, and the location may be the ancient city of Zakiku, a key hub in that empire. At its height, the empire stretched for just over 600 miles, from the Zagros Mountains to the Mediterranean Sea. Early on in the history of the empire, the Mitannists fought Egypt for control of Syria until a ceasefire was negotiated with Thutmose IV, pharaoh of Egypt, around 1420 BCE. After the Mitannists were defeated by the Hittite Empire around 1360 BCE, the Assyrians quickly acquired control of the region. In the context of the 7 final plagues, what does the Euphrates drying up mean? End-time Babylon is described as seated atop many waters in Revelation chapter 17 verse 1, which may be a reference to the Euphrates. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 13. According to Revelation chapter 17 verse 15, the people who support end-time Babylon, the global civic, secular, and political powers that underpin the system, are represented by the rivers on which Babylon rests. These authorities will soon withdraw their backing, though. The 6th plague setting is a representation of Cyrus, the Persians' conquest of ancient Babylon. Daniel 5. The Persians diverted the Euphrates and entered Babylon along the riverbed, surprising the city. According to the ancient historian Herodotus, on the night that King Belshazzar and his officers attended a feast, the inhabitants of the world go to Babylon for shelter as they witness the world in turmoil. Revelations chapter 16 verses 3 to 9. However, they realize it would be pointless to look for assistance there since the 5th plague devastates the location of Babylon's power. Revelations chapter 16 verses 10 to 11. They turn on Babylon, believing they have been duped, and bring about her demise. Revelations chapter 17 verses 16. They still have hard attitudes toward God and His people, as we have witnessed. As a result, they turn into ideal ground for Satan's ultimate trick, which he will use to convince everyone to band together against God's people and exterminate them off the face of the planet. Are you excited for the prophecy or terrified and hope it is wrong? Who knows if it's true, and the only way to know is to wait for it. Hey, thanks for watching this video. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of stuff, then please subscribe, like and comment your thoughts down below. See you in our next video.